Have you ever wondered, where are all of the Star Wars games? I had a ton of them as a kid, but I don't seem to have any new ones. What's going on? Today, I'm going to try to answer that question, figure out what went wrong, and what we as Star Wars gaming fans should expect in the future. Now, I really like Star Wars. It's basically my entire personality. I remember growing up with Star Wars games flooding the shelf, like Battlefront, Lego Star Wars, The Force Unleashed. There seem to be new games popping up all the time. But in recent years, there have been fewer and fewer of them. Why is that? What's going on? Who's to blame? Is it
because of Obi-Wan?
Or just some shady business practices? Spoiler alert, it's probably the second one. In order to understand how we got here, let's take a quick trip through the history of Star Wars games.
Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, a great movie. Now a great video game. A movie which challenged your imagination. Now a video game where the challenge never ends.
The first Star Wars game was released in 1982 on the Atari 2600. This was Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, the game. It was an adaptation of the film Empire Strikes Back. Adaptation, of course, being used very loosely here. It's actually only an adaptation of the opening scene where the snowspeeders attempt to stop the AT-ATs from reaching Echo Base. Now, this game is infamous for its difficulty and the fact that the AT-ATs are basically unstoppable and will stomp you into the ground. Honestly, this is probably a way more accurate representation of how a war would go between a small band of rebels and the Galactic Empire. War is hell. While this game is pretty basic, it set the scene for Star Wars games. This game basically said, hey, the Star Wars experience is one that's best enjoyed in the comfort of your own home. And everyone said, yeah, that may be, but could you please be a little bit better first? For almost a decade, most Star Wars games were limited to arcade games and rough adaptations of the original trilogy films, such as Return of the Jedi, Death Star Battle, and Jedi Arena, which I guess is an adaptation of that one scene where Luke and Obi-Wan are training in the Millennium Falcon with the robot thing. However, all of that changed in 1993. Star Wars XWing. This was the first non-arcade, story-based Star Wars game that didn't follow the events of the films, and it showed that these games had the potential to stand on their own 2 feet. No longer did they have to rely on the original trilogy for their content. Not to mention, Star Wars X-Wing was the first Star Wars game that was developed in-house at LucasArts. The games had been in various hands previously, and it had finally come full circle back to the Lucas name. X-Wing nailed the very essence of what a Star Wars game should be, an immersive sci-fi combat simulator. This was the standard for Star Wars games going forward. The bar was high, but the possibilities were now endless. We were no longer confined to the plots of the films or rough arcade adaptations of Star Wars battles. Now we could really feel the action and be a part of it. In the years after this game, we started getting some real bangers. Between 1994 and 1998, we got TIE Fighter, Dark Forces, Rogue Squadron, some absolute staples of the Star Wars game franchise. This was the first big boom of Star Wars games. We were finally getting multiple games a year. This was like the first time being a Star Wars fan and a video game nerd would pay off. But in 1999, things were knocked into 12th gear. There was a little movie called The Phantom Menace that hit theaters. Maybe you've heard of it. And it was... Look, I actually like Episode 1. It's not the worst Star Wars movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Yippee!
But I'm not talking about the films. I'm talking about the games. Focus up. The Phantom Menace changed not only Star Wars, but Star Wars games forever. And not just the kind of games we got, but also the amount of games that LucasArts was cranking out in a single year. Right off the bat, we began getting between 6 and 8 new Star Wars games every single year. Holy shit, my guys. And these weren't insignificant games. We got Star Wars Racer in '99, an Obi-Wan game in 2001. The year we got the most Star Wars games in a single year was 2000, right after The Phantom Menace. 9 unique games came out in that time. That's a hell of a lot more than we're getting nowadays. Between 1999 and 2005, we were averaging almost 6 Star Wars games a year, not including expansions or add-on packs. And these were knockout games. Battlefront 1, Republic Commando, Bounty Hunter, Knights of the Old Republic, Lego Star Wars, for God's sake! I'm going to personally take it upon myself to dub this the unofficial golden age of Star Wars video games. I personally think it's a period of time where Star Wars games were the most plentiful and had the highest quality. However, 2005 brought about a trend that ended up changing the face of Star Wars games forever, and not in a good way. I'm of course talking about mobile games. The first Star Wars mobile game was called Star Wars Battle for the Republic. It's a rough game, and honestly, I'm not even sure what hardware it's for. Like BlackBerry, maybe? Jesus, those graphics are rough. But this is technically the first Star Wars mobile game. In the following years, we saw a few mobile games pop up, nothing major. It was really only about one a year, sometimes 0, and we saw some pretty solid releases coming out alongside them, such as Battlefront 2, Force Unleashed, but something happened in 2013. Something terrible.
EA Sports. It's in the...
EA got the license to exclusively publish Star Wars games. fucking A. The number of mobile Star Wars games skyrocketed, and the number of console games absolutely diminished. I made a graph here. The yellow line represents every Star Wars game that came out in a year, not including expansions, DLC, or add-ons of any kind. These are 100% original, new games. However, in 2005, we see a new line that's added. This is the amount of Star Wars games that are mobile games. As you can see, we're about to see a shocking trend. 4 out of 5 Star Wars games in 2013 were mobile games. 2014 had 8 Star Wars games that released that year, which sounds like a lot, until you realize that all of them were mobile games. No new console games, no new PC games, just mobile. Now, before I go any further, I have to say, I totally recognize that mobile gaming is absolutely a valid form of gaming. There are some great mobile games out there. However, companies like EA have almost single-handedly destroyed any credibility that comes with being a mobile game, mostly due to incessant microtransactions and oversaturating the fuck out of the market. But EA really found its home in the year 2015. I believe personally that this is the year that Star Wars gaming as we knew it died. So what happened in 2015 that led to this? Well, 3 major things really. First, Episode 7, the first Star Wars movie in a decade, was released. Interest in Star Wars was at an all-time high, and EA had to capitalize on the newfound popularity of this property. Battlefront, the iconic Star Wars battle simulator, was also rebooted by EA and released around the same time. And lastly, Galaxy of Heroes, EA's most profitable Star Wars mobile game to date, was also released. All of a sudden, microtransactions, games as a service, and rush development became a standard in EA's new Star Wars releases. The amount of games that were released every year significantly plummeted after 2015. This is due to the fact that only a few live service games were needed to justify owning such a lucrative franchise. Battlefront had so much DLC shoved into it, it was apparent that the game was just unfinished, and new modes and maps were added behind a paywall and masked as DLC. There was so much overpriced DLC for Battlefront 1 that Battlefront 2 was actually applauded for not having content hidden behind a paywall. But Battlefront 2, no, not that Battlefront 2, the other Battlefront 2, had a messy launch. Sure, there was no paid DLC, but you couldn't even play as most of the heroes without paying a shit ton of real money for the chance to maybe unlock them through a slot machine system that was a complete money grab on EA's part. Sorry, getting heated. Calm down. Not to mention the disgusting pay-to-win star card mechanics that existed in the first version of the game. Players with more money to dump on loot boxes to improve their character's weapon and gear were steamrolling casual players and tainted the online experience. While the game was kinda fixed with patches and updates that removed a lot of pay-to-win features and gambling mechanics, it was still a disingenuous corporate money grab on day one. That's for sure. 2018's Fallen Order was a step in the right direction. It was the closest we've gotten to a return to form for Star Wars games. It's a great single-player experience that lets you interact and engage with the Star Wars world in a way that feels personal and intimate. There were some glitches and bugs due to totally not mandatory crunch to meet EA's release deadline, but it was a solid game. However, the big plus for this one was no microtransactions, no cosmetics you could buy, no star cards that you could purchase to make Cal cut off Darth Vader's dong. Nothing, just a solid game, start to finish. Then Star Wars Squadrons came out in 2020. Jesus Christ, I don't know what you guys think, but to me this game is just soulless. There's hardly anything to do, the online play is just annoying, the story mode is so repetitive. What is this menu? Ugh. You move around by clicking? Gross. At least we kinda see what live-action Hera looks like. Oh my god! This game is such a letdown to me. I know there's an audience out there for it, and if you had a good time with it, great, but for me, I just lost interest pretty quickly. It seemed to just do one part of Battlefront 2 a little bit better, but I'd rather go back to Battlefront than sink any more hours into Squadrons. There's just more to do there. But you know what? This could all be forgiven. All of it. Battlefront 1, 2, Squadrons, the lack of quality content, and only one solid story game in years. All of it could have been forgiven if it weren't for this bullshit right here. Mobile games. When I say those two words, you probably think of a few examples. Something like Angry Birds, Clash of Clans, even Fortnite. Healing! Some of you may also think of another word. Microtransactions. Lots and lots of microtransactions. As I said earlier, according to Pocket Gamer, Galaxy of Heroes is EA's most profitable mobile Star Wars game, and it's generated over $1 billion in profits for EA since January of 2021. $1 billion! That's a lot of credits. Do you know how many death sticks you can buy with that kind of money?
You wanna buy some death sticks?
Really quickly, let's just take a look at some Galaxy of Heroes gameplay. It's shallow as hell, simple, repetitive animations, pretty simple textures. There's little to no camera movement, you get the idea. From a programming perspective, this isn't any more demanding than a Pokemon game. Now, let's look at some gameplay from Fallen Order, in my opinion, the best EA Star Wars game to date. Ooh, holy shit, that is clean. Did you see that? He just killed that fucking guy with his own rocket. Parry, roll, slice. Holy hell. This is a good game. While Fallen Order was a successful game and proved that single-player Star Wars games are anything but dead, games like Galaxy of Heroes also prove that you can just put minimal effort, development, and resources into a game and have it turn out just as, if not more, successful. So why bother making a good game when you can just make a meh game with a ton of microtransactions?
How expensive is this guy? Jedi Master Luke, how much do you think this guy ended up costing me? So I think it's probably gonna be around $1,200. And so this first vault here is $106, 21.25. We're past the 500 mark already. 53.14, 106.29. The 53, we're already up to $850. 106, 53, 31, 21, 106. We did 3 of them. 106. We're already at what my prediction was. 53, 21, 21, 21, 21, 21. I wonder how much I waste. 31, 26, 10.62, 21. Between July and August, we are at $1,800. Wow, my gosh, there's the 3,000 mark. I have to admit, even for me, this is much higher than I anticipated. I'm kind of doing some soul searching now. The total spent here is $3,585.54.
After the release of Galaxy of Heroes, the number of Star Wars games per year, including mobile games, significantly dropped. I don't think this is a coincidence. EA basically found their golden ticket. They no longer have to pump out quality Star Wars content in order to profit from having exclusive publishing rights to the franchise. This game is an example of doing just enough to get by. There's no incentive for them to push boundaries with the IP as long as this thing is making them money. As a result, Star Wars games have become stagnant, and they've started to slow down. Galaxy of Heroes, fuck you. So, what did we learn from all of this? What am I trying to tell you with this video? I think when it comes to Star Wars games, there's a lot of missed potential now. Sure, we're getting games that range from passable to great, but we are lacking any kind of variety when it comes to the titles we're seeing. Where are the wacky Star Wars games like Pod Racer, or the hack and slashes like Force Unleashed? How many times has the LEGO Star Wars Skywalker saga been delayed? Jesus Christ, I genuinely want to play this game as an adult. Come on. It seems like we're just getting a couple of safe bet games that, for the most part, can be milked for money, months, or even years after their release. And this isn't surprising. This trend isn't unique to Star Wars games. It's a direction that a lot of the gaming industry has been shifting towards for a while now. Star Wars is just the perfect lens through which to examine it. While I still think 2015 was the year Star Wars games started diminishing and taking a turn for the worse and turning into games as a service, that was something a lot of gamers were already starting to notice for a while. Galaxy of Heroes and Battlefront 2 aren't the disease. They're just a symptom of how games nowadays operate. We, as Star Wars fans and gaming fans, need to have a higher standard for these games. We should never buy into microtransactions, and we should be wary of games that have a microtransaction system built into them. We should support story-driven games like Fallen Order. Those games are some of the best journeys in the Star Wars universe, and they offer a rare opportunity for us to interact with this world that we love and cherish so much. Ubisoft now is working on an open-world Star Wars game, which sounds like a promising idea. Hopefully the entering of new companies into the ring will help push the boundaries of Star Wars games and result in a collective win for their audience. The future is looking bright for Star Wars content. There are a few more EA titles coming in the next few years. We have the aforementioned Ubisoft game coming out, and we have some exciting TV shows and movies that are coming soon. Interest for Star Wars couldn't be higher. As an optimistic fan, I think the next golden age of Star Wars games is right around the corner. In a few years, we may look back and realize that this time, right now, is the beginning of that age. Alright, I think I've said all I've needed to about this topic. I appreciate you all for tuning in, and until we meet again, may the Force be with you.